All right, good morning, everyone. Hello, bonjour à tous, and kwe. Welcome to this month's quarterly connection, or community connection, quarterly community connection. I'll be all right. And I actually have to do a shout out to Christine Young, who's joining us today for the first time. Christine, this community connection is as a result of a conversation that you, and I believe Ashley was there, and I had in the CYN section that was under renovation at the time. About bringing the not-for-profit community together. And Christine had shared with me at one time, there were a number of organizations that did come together and kind of let people know what's happening in their organizations, what's happening in their communities, and so on. And so thus the community connection was born. And I'm very pleased to see that Christine and Shauna and Ashley are able to join us today from their organization, and welcome for sure. Brent's an old timer here with us, has been probably almost at every community connection. I've roped him into being a presenter for me as well. So while
what do you mean old?
Old as in this is about the 8th one we've done, so it's no longer new. But certainly not by age. So while we're waiting for a few folks to come in, and I do know that a couple people on the call need to drop off for something else happening later. So I'm just going to ask that we do some introductions, let folks know who you are, where you are, what organization you're with, and then we'll try and get things underway around just the presentation that we have from my guest speaker here this morning. So Hillary, I know you've got other commitments today, so do you want to jump on first and let folks know who you are and where you are?
Yep, I am Hillary King, and I'm working as an entrepreneurship advisor with International Education Newfoundland and Labrador, and I operate out of St. John's. And basically, we help international students who are interested in studying in Newfoundland and staying here afterwards. So I specifically provide entrepreneurial support to those students.
Excellent, thank you. Jeff, how about yourself? Do you want to say hello to everyone?
Good morning, my name is Jeff Young, and I'm a project coordinator on the West Coast with Skills Canada, Newfoundland, and Labrador.
Excellent, thank you. Shauna, I think your audio is connected now. Let's see if we can get that one to work.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. My name is Shauna Decker. I'm the program coordinator for Communities Building Youth Futures at the Y.
Excellent, thank you. And Ashley?
Hi there, my name is Ashley Christopher, and I am a career coach at the Y in Corner Park.
Excellent, thank you. And Brent?
Good morning, my name is Brent Decker. I'm an economic development officer with the Department of Industry, Energy, and Technology for the government of Newfoundland. We like to use acronyms within government, so I'm an EDO with IET with GNL. Based out of the Bat Cave here in Pasadena.
Excellent, thank you. Christine?
I wish I had a Bat Cave. Christine Young, I'm the CEO here at the YMCA Western Newfoundland.
Excellent, thank you. And Roxanne, how are you doing there?
I just sent you the forward, Carol, to see if you could open it. I can't open it.
Okay.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Roxanne Notley, and I work with Nunicore, but I'm a volunteer with Newfoundland Labrador Indigenous Tourism Association. And this week, we've been very excited to host our first annual general meeting, and we had a great first AGA. It was a very interesting format, and we had over, I think, nearly 60 people engaged from across the province, looking at what we're doing and what we're hoping to do. So hopefully in a minute, I'll be able to share the presentation, but really pleased to have this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about NELIDA and what we're doing and what we hope to achieve through a joint effort of all the Indigenous groups in our province.
Excellent. So it's not giving me access, but I've just sent Tara a message, so we'll hopefully get that on shortly. Do you want to pop your camera on, Roxanne, just so folks know as you're speaking who you are?
Okay. Is it, was it on just when I was speaking? Because I thought I had it on. Is it on now?
It's on now, yeah.
Okay.
So we're just, hopefully Tara will send that over and we can get that going. Because it thinks yeah, it needs me to sign in as you, not myself, Roxanne. So I just tried signing in as myself, but I just sent Tara a message. Hopefully she'll get that.
Okay.
So yes, Roxanne is here on behalf of Enlita, and exciting things happening with that organization. I did some work with them recently on strategic planning and board governance, and it's a new organization. And so I thought I'd give them the opportunity to present today or just introduce themselves to the not-for-profit community today. And Tara Saunders, who is their chair, is just undergoing a severe migraine at the moment. So she said it would be pretty hard for her to plow through. So Roxanne sits on the board. So we are asking her to kind of jump in here. But I guess to give a little bit of an introduction, as Roxanne mentioned, it is an organization bringing together 5 Indigenous communities, or 5 Indigenous communities around memberships and so on to come together. So I thought it was a really awesome example of connection and community connection and how groups can work together. So it's kind
Yeah,
of
I could expand a little bit more on that, Carol.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, so it's probably been in 2017, there was a meeting actually hosted in Western Newfoundland, and at that time there was an interest, or at least a question was asked if this would be something that the Indigenous groups in this province be interested in working together on. And so that kind of started the conversation. And then in a couple of years ago, we hosted the forum, and all 5 Indigenous groups across the province, the 3 in Labrador. I'm associated with the Southern Inuit, basically mostly our members are in Central and Southern Labrador. Then the Netsvut group is the Northern Inuit Association, or government, I shouldn't say association, government, and also the Innu Nation in mostly in Nakashish and Sheshashi. And all of and the 3 Indigenous groups in Labrador have members all over God's creation. But also there's 2 Indigenous groups on the island. The one that Tara's associated with, the Halapu. And then we have, and I'll never remember their name, with Con River band. I can't pronounce the name, and I'm sorry for that. I know some of you, if you're there and you're from that organization, please say your name. They're trying to send me the.
I'm not sure, Jeff, if you know how to say it.
I'm not really familiar with saying it either, but I think it's Miapukek.
Yeah, that's pretty close, because yeah, that sounds pretty close. If it's not right, that's pretty close. Closer than I would have got. Thank you for that. So Colleen works with us on the board from their interest group as well. And then also, because we recognize that there's people in the province that are not associated with those 5 organizations, we've also set aside a seat for someone who is an Indigenous person but not associated with any organization. They can be self-identified. So we have provisions there. We're also going to be, because we don't want to work in a silo. We know it's not great. That's not good for tourism on any level, to work alone. How tourism works and how we benefit most is working together. And the reason why we did set up an organization is to really provide some focus, concerted effort on growing Indigenous tourism. There's a lot of interest, and there's a lot of different things happening, like the provinces themselves are doing a fantastic job in promoting and developing tourism. and there is cultural offerings there as well. However, we've seen as Indigenous people ourselves an opportunity to both plug into tourism, but also to help showcase our own culture. So it's it's a tandem thing. It's also an education, creating for me with my organization. We're very new, and new as organization, but we've been around for centuries. We've always been here, and we're just discovering our place and discovering who we are as a people, and which was lost. So through tourism, our intent is never to lose sight of that ever again in our history or in the future. So of our history in the future. So and it's like that for a lot of Indigenous organizations. It's losing of identity, it's losing of a culture, and tourism is such a wonderful place to protect that, to make sure that we celebrate who we are. And in this province, I think we have with these 5 groups, we have such a rich offering to showcase the world. And from the research that the national organization, Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada, people are wanting to know that. They wanting to come and experience that. They want to meet people in place, and that's the fantastic thing about us and our people, is that we take such great pride in our places, and it's made us who we are, and it's basically a celebration of us, and so tourism is a great place for that. And it allows us to really showcase that in a really great way. I think I might have access here now to the presentation, if I could open it. So if anybody's got any questions throughout, or if I could get this to open, and it looks like it is. I'll be happy to answer as much as I can. I'm seeing this with you, although I'm familiar with probably most of the screens. It's just I haven't seen the format, so I might apologize for this today. I like to be more prepared than this when I present, but I'll do the best I can.
You're doing awesome so far, Roxanne. Perfect. And actually, because we got sort of kerfuffled up there, I actually didn't do my land acknowledgement that I often do when I start. So while you're getting set up, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that I'm in the community of Pasadena, which is on the ancestral lands of the Beothuk, and take this moment to recognize the Indigenous people in our province, the Inuit, the Innu, and the Mi'kmaq. All right, we're seeing something there.
Okay, so not all the slides have populated there yet. My second slide hasn't, but other slides have. How do I advance? I'll just click on each slide.
I would think, because you're still within the Dropbox, I think. But
okay, I see it there now.
Yeah. Down at the bottom, there's a little, well, let's say 1 of 1. Oh, there you go, 1 of 25. It's starting to come in there now. Roxanne's on the south coast of Labrador,
okay.
so we're testing out the bandwidth here, aren't we, Roxanne?
We certainly are. I'm I'm not actually sharing bandwidth, so but I'm glad it's working. So this is what NALEDA is about, is preserving and promoting, and I've always spoke to that, basically our intent, why we are who we are and why we formed. And I work with the board itself. Is just a phenomenal board. Carol would have noticed that we are so passionate about what we're doing, and we believe in this work because not only for economic benefits, but also for our preservation of our own culture, and so we are very close to this work. most of us, actually all of us, are volunteers, even though we have full-time jobs. This is just something we've been doing to help support what we believe will be a great anchor for tourism growth in our province. So it's preserving and promoting Indigenous culture and knowledge in places in Newfoundland and Labrador through leadership and support for community-led grassroots tourism. So we have, you know, a great vision. We've had talks, and we've been doing this. Like I said, it's been like 2 years of preparation and planning. You know, it just didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of effort, and our guiding principles are in bridging the gap, setting at shared tables. I mentioned we don't do this alone. We're not doing this in silos. We're engaging as many people as we can, organizations that have shared interests. Many of you, I'm sure, will be interested in the work that we're doing, and we'll find a way to engage you and your interests. And you know, if there is an opportunity to be members, even if you're not Indigenous, you can still plug in. You know.
Roxanne, you're chopping up a little bit. I'm wondering, it might be best if you actually do take your
rest of
camera
things
off.
that we're involved in, things that may benefit you, things you might want to just be aware of and be able to. Bringing pride to our people, of course, and healing and changing the narratives, because we've seen too many things of a lot of times in media issues, the challenges that we have, but this is a good news kind of story. You know, our people are taking our place in telling our own story. So we did quite a bit of engagement and try to figure out where the needs were, where the opportunities were, and just making sure that you know what we wanted to do and what should do, what was needed. So hearing from the grassroots and finding out from our people if this is something they would support, and if so, how would they want it to look and roll out, kind of thing. So we have 9 pillars, I think it is, of work that we would focus on in the strategy that was outlined in the strategy, which includes education, awareness, partnership, marketing and branding, product development, capacity building, governance and leadership, culture preservation, obviously working with our grassroots tourism support, providing that we know. And just to give you some background too, in a lot of things I guess sometimes it's very frustrating working with, if you're non-Indigenous, working with Indigenous people, because we do take longer, not just because we just dragging our heels, we just want to do it right. And we want to make sure that we have communities involved and people, and hear people's voices. So it does take longer for us to get things done. Not, you know, we're working hard and we're doing the due diligence. So sometimes when you have, you wanted things done and you're working with Indigenous, or you want to work with an Indigenous group, just make sure that you give lots of time to do that engagement. It's not that we're slow and catching on, it's just that we want to make sure that we have as many voices, we hear as many voices around the table as we can, and we're not going to make split decisions. We'll need some time to think about it, to talk to our elders, talk to our youth, and things like that. So just understand that. So
That's a good point, Roxanne.
Just make sure that you engage us right at the beginning.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Roxanne. So would your organization, you or the others on your board, be able to help others if they're looking at doing some community engagement and there's going to be some Indigenous folks there?
Yeah, and that's something, that's a good point. And that's, you know, that would be one of the roles of us too, because we are going to be developing an elders council, even for ourselves. We want to make sure that whatever you know, direction we take, you know, it's in keeping with I guess it has the support of our communities, and having that I guess sounding board is needed, and we want to make sure that we whatever we do is done in a respectful way, even for ourselves. So if you're looking at doing things, I know working with Indigenous people, everyone is concerned about doing, being respectful and things like that. So, it's better to ask, and we can certainly connect you. We're not going to be out, the be out and end all of everything, but we certainly, will show, at least we build that relationship, start building those relationships.
Okay, excellent.
We'll be working now, of course, with our, working with the people on the ground, working with our focus will be working with our businesses and Indigenous owners for sure, and helping them to, because there is a lot of work with regards to tourism development, and especially, with product development, even getting on newfoundlandlabrador.com, there's a lot of, getting tourism assurance plans in place. So there's all those things still have to be done, our due diligence. And so then it's also the cultural piece and the respect and the research needed there. Everything will be, of course, a good representation of who we are as people. We're not going to be pretending or making things up as we go. It's going to be it's going to be well researched. It's going to be shared with pride of our people. So it's going to be done in a very nice, good way that our own people will be proud to say, you should check this out. Whether that's a tourism offering, whether that's a poster or an activity, a hotel room, like these are, we want whatever we support represent be a true reflection of who we are as a people, Indigenous people in this province. So our bold brand, I'll read this. Nelita will be a leader and resource for supporting Indigenous communities, operators, and entrepreneurs as they share their culture and build our tourism product and tourism and services. That's fundamental. That's our whole reason and purpose of being, is to do that. And I think that bodes well for you who are also in the industry or going to be looking at partnering with us, to know that we will be a very strong partner, and we have the same interests and professionalism, and we want to ensure that our industry is seen as as world class, basically. Indigenous tourism protocols. So it would be Indigenous owned, controlled. That's basically to be classified as an Indigenous business or offering. That's the standard first. So basically 51%. So the person you could be a partner, but in order to be classified as an Indigenous, that's what you would need. This is another thing because we got this in hospitality in Newfoundland. We had a lot of businesses interested in adding Indigenous content into their offering, which is really nice. But however, what we asked that the content actually be created by Indigenous people, involving us, and we basically help with that, with reflecting that. However, you can talk, when you're talking about Indigenous cultures, it's fun to talk about it, but and share it, your knowledge of it, but be sure to if you're going to be providing the experience, in Indigenous content, make sure that it's first vetted by Indigenous people. Having Indigenous people do it is the most authentic way, really. So I encourage you to have Indigenous people demonstrating your Indigenous experience, and that's really the respectful way to do it. Indigenous tourism in Canada looks like today, or look like. So as I mentioned, alluded to at the beginning, we've known for some time that the demand for Indigenous tourism in Canada is growing. It's after what, you know, it's being sought after, and people are wanting those authentic experiences. Economic impact for Indigenous tourism in Newfoundland: 47 million GDP. There's 72 Indigenous businesses right now registered with us, creating over 1,000 jobs. So that's nice. Great. We'd like to see that growing. Of course, can you say that word for me? Because I can never say that word.
Authenticity.
Authenticity. Yes, there we go. At the heart of Indigenous tourism. I talk really fast too, because probably a lot of words I'm saying you're not understanding. But so one thing we want to make sure is that you understand is that culture belongs to the community. And that's why, like I mentioned at the beginning, it takes us longer. We want to make sure that whatever we're offering, whatever we're planning to share with others, is first of all, we have the permission and from the community to do that, and they understand why we're doing it. Diversity of Indigenous communities, no universal truth. I don't know what she was talking about there, so I'm going to go on. So we know that visitors want to connect. They want to connect with our places. They want to connect with our people, and they want that personal. And we've seen that even with the Newfoundland Labrador tourism. A lot of the offerings that's happening now is people-based experiences, because people, they want to connect with real people. They want to know why you live here, and that's the first question I get in Labrador. Is what do you do here? Why you live here? What is there to do? So understanding that, and if you do that in your offering, I think you'll do really well. So the great thing about what we're doing is, like I mentioned, it's not only economic, but it's also protecting our cultures. It's making sure that we never lose what we have lost. Some of us have lost. Not all Indigenous groups and governments have lost their culture, but I know, I speak personally, we certainly did lose a lot of ours. We lost our language, but we didn't lose our traditions. A lot of our traditions unknowingly was passed down, and we're rediscovering that. Connecting with our elders is such an important part of our community, our place. They help connect us and keep us grounded. So Nelita will be making a way to make sure that there's a forum and a circle for elders to advise us, and they will have ultimate say. If they don't like a direction we're taking, we will not be taking that direction. But growing Indigenous tourism, we believe, is positive not only for the economy but for our people. But it certainly creates an opportunity for our people to share our culture, but also make a living, and so they continue to live here. That's been a challenge in a lot of our Indigenous communities. Is finding a healthy way to live, but sharing tourism is a wonderful complement to that. We will all, even though, so not all places will we have activities. There will be some places that will, what we call sacred places, and it will only be for our people. It will not be for visitors. So that needs to be respected and understood as well. So I don't know if there's any questions. That was really fast. I'm sure Tara would have done a phenomenal job. There was a couple of slides there I couldn't speak to, because I'm sure she had intentions to speak more on, but I do appreciate your time and an opportunity to share what Nelita is about and how we can plug into the tourism development in our province. And I hope you can see that our intentions is to give more regions and provide more reasons for people to come here, and we will attract international guests, which we know we depend on in this province. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Roxanne. So if you want to stop the sharing now, because that'll help with your stability for your internet.
Now I don't see to stop sharing.
Okay, well, let me see if I. Nope, that's not the one. I'll try to change. I may end up kicking you out when I change your role, Roxanne. If I do, just log back in. I think we had this when I had Brent. I was trying to change him back.
Okay, give control. There you go.
Yeah, try that. Oh, here we go.
Did you hear most of what I said? Because it looked like I was having.
Yeah, we did. There was a couple of spots where it was a little choppy, but otherwise we got most of it.
Okay.
So excellent. So I just stopped sharing that just to have there. So thank you so much, Roxanne. So any questions from anyone for Roxanne, specifically on the presentation or anything?
Roxanne, in terms of membership, what is the process? Is it an application process or just a registration process? Is there fees, all that kind of thing?
This good question. This year it's for free. We're following suit with national organization as well. They have provided their membership for free. It is an application process, very simple process, and it will be online. We're actually, if it's not already online through Nalita, it will be up very shortly because we had to. We've added a new seat, and there will be other seats as well for our partners to have a non-voting voice at the table as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know one of the things when we were doing the board governance, Brent, was that they want partners as well as Indigenous operators themselves, so that they're looking to represent sort of both sides, industry and the culture side of it. I was absolutely impressed, and this group worked so well together and spoke openly about the differences in the culture and how hard it is to sometimes bring those together, and they're so embracing of working together, and I was really impressed by this group. So thank you, Roxanne, for joining us today. So really, that's kind of what I hope this community connection becomes, is getting people to work together and understand what's happening. So Christine, how about I go to you? Do you want to let us know what's happening in your organization and bring us up to speed of what's going on?
We're pretty busy here with a few new initiatives that we're undertaking. We're funded through NLWIC to do a research and pilot project around employment supports that are needed for youth and adults up to we've got a qualifier up to the age of 45, which is a weird age demographic, but anyway, it is what it is. It's ironic that we've completed a significant piece of the research prior to the pandemic. And we're now in a little bit of a conundrum, realizing that a lot of the recommendations that came from the research that was done are now questionable, or they need to be revisited with a new lens as to what has been the impact of the pandemic on some of the recommendations that have come out of that, and are these going to be long-term? Is it going to impact the results that we came up with? Are they going to be impacted long-term or short-term? This session this morning was of particular interest to us in that one of the areas that was identified through the research as providing opportunities for employment, for an entrepreneurial spirit, was the hospitality industry. So hospitality and tourism shone fairly brightly in the research. And of course, as we were trying to launch things, that industry had pretty well shut down. So yes, we're doing a little bit of a reset, hoping to meet with the funders and see if we can do some sort of a comparative research, extend our project now and do some sort of a comparative of pre-COVID, post-COVID. Has our reality changed? Is it changed permanently going into the future? So yeah, we're in kind of that state, but I think that's why this session was of particular interest to us. The other thing that we're pretty excited about is our Communities Building Youth Futures. We were funded, it's a project being delivered or hosted by the Tamarack Institute, funded by ESDC. It's a 5-year project, which is just absolutely amazing. We've never had that level of multi-year funding before. So I think it gives us the opportunity to really make a difference, get some really good data going, and actually have an impact. And of course, with our Communities Building Youth Futures, our focus is, what do we need to do to get youth to complete high school, move on into employment and meaningful employment? And when you're looking at youth and employment, you want to be able to provide, a broad spectrum for them to choose to, and make them aware of opportunities that exist, and just the vast array of things that are happening around us that we may not be aware of. So again, that's why this session was of keen interest to us as well. Yeah, so I'd like to just go back though to Roxanne and ask a question if I could.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I was curious about there are 72 businesses, and I was just curious about the diversity or the scope of those businesses, and even the location of the businesses. I don't know, if even just a little bit of a snapshot of the range, I guess, of the types of businesses that are involved with your initiative.
Yeah, so it's a good question. Thank you for that. Give me opportunity to put a plug into some of our businesses. But yeah, so we have a great, like everything you can imagine with regards to tourism, whether that's an accommodation, whether that's a meal, whether that's an activity, which is the 3 components of a visitor experience. We have those in our database. Very soon, you'll see a suggested itinerary actually coming out that shows right from Western Newfoundland to Central Labrador, suggested things to see and do along the way. So we're hoping to launch that with the province, in partnership with the province, in June. And that's, for myself, I work with Nunacor, and we actually own our own hotel in Happy Valley Goose Bay, the Royal Inn and Suites. Got an award a couple of years ago from Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador. And so we have a vested interest, obviously, in this industry. But we have operators who run boat tours, who run hiking, who have food establishments. We have a lot that's in the accommodations, and they're spread out from right from Nain to Grand Falls, I think. We have one further than that, closer to St. John's, Shamasha, and it's not in St. John's. I think it's an hour and a half outside of St. John's. So yeah, so there's businesses throughout the province. I don't know if that answered your questions, and we're hoping to add more. We have more, a lot more. They're just not signed up to the database yet because we haven't done that membership drive yet, which we're doing. We're actually in the process of doing now.
And in terms of the businesses that exist, are they, what's been their experience in terms of staffing requirements, or is staffing an issue? I know some business may be just a very small shop, so the people operating the business are doing everything that needs to be done to make it happen. But what about the auxiliary staff, I guess? And is there a challenge getting staff, or are there certain attributes or qualities or educations that would be most that people are looking for when they're hiring to help their business?
Yeah, it's the same with hospitality. It's the same challenges. You know, I worked with Destination Labrador for a while as well, and Destination Labrador is a DMO in our area in Labrador, and we hear it throughout, you know, their networks as well. It's the same thing. It's retention of employees, and now especially a lot of our businesses have older employees, so that they're concerned about replacing them. They've been dedicated to their business, but they're at retirement age now. So yeah, we're the people that are going to backfill some of those positions in the future. So it's the same thing. And with regards to the training, that's a challenge too, because most of, like I said, small businesses, they have to do all their own training. They're training people out as they go on the floor, kind of thing. But we know there's a need for, especially in Indigenous tourism, is that Indigenous guide training element. But yeah, it's a challenge. It will be a challenge until we're able to pay people the amount of money they need to really make this as a career instead of a job.
Ashley, you've got a question?
I do. So through the research that Christine's speaking to, and like she's already said, we had a very big attachment to the tourism and hospitality industry. We're not quite sure where that stands right at the moment, but through, you know, we're hoping to see that change and things progress and move forward. So, you know, additional businesses that we could reach out to locally would be a great asset to see what their capacity is for partnership through the pre-employment programs that we will be conducting. We do have some capacity for trainings that, you know, could be specific to tourism and hospitality industry. So how do we move forward and reach out to those businesses that are our area, and, you know, the youth involved in our programs could potentially, you know, be employed by? This is a tough one, right?
Would it be best, Roxanne, if they connected with Tara in Western Region?
In the Western Region, yes. Okay, I wasn't sure that was directed right at me. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, sorry, I probably should have specified. But yeah.
So yeah, and hopefully soon, like the goal through Nelita, and we have a proposal in to actually get some staff. So we're hoping to hire someone in Newfoundland and in Labrador to help with some of this work. And of course, I mean, if you've got people that's looking for work or need to get, or you got training, or you got something to offer, we will have a you know, a network that we could share that through. We're looking at we're doing it already, actually, through constant contact and through our email list. So whatever we can share that's going to be a benefit to our businesses, we want to be able to pass it along. So thank you.
You know, from my perspective, I'd like to see what the needs are, right? And that's some things that were identified through the research that was done in late 2019. So if we had a better idea of current needs from employers in these industries, you know, it's a step forward from our perspective, realistically. Yeah, so I got some work to do. Thank you.
And you got some potential clients, so that's awesome.
So Ashley, I know Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador, they were also involved in a WIC project a couple years ago. So they're either in the process or have that clued up. So that might be a resource for you as well. Talk with Juanita Ford at H&L. And within Corner Brook, the Go Western, as Roxanne references, a DMO. So Lexi McKenzie at Go
Yeah.
Western be a good resource from that perspective as well.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, I actually was at a meeting yesterday with Lexi, and she was hoping to jump on today, but obviously didn't get to hear. But yeah, she'd be great connection. And I think that's part of it, Roxanne, is the awareness piece of people providing training supports to know your community, and then the people in your community to realize there are some things out there. I mean, Navigate is another community event that I facilitate every month, as you've been on. You know, they're providing workshops and training all the time, and it's not specific to Indigenous or non-Indigenous, it's specific to entrepreneurs. So we're looking for that. I'm just going to say bienvenue, Andrew. Andrew has just joined us from Rede TNL, and they're also putting off events and connections and training for the bilingual community. And so, you know, they're Andrew is based in mainland, I believe. Andrew, are you there? You want to say a quick hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, you're there.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew Hibbets, and I'm Economic Development Officer for the West Coast of Newfoundland with Red ATNL. And effective, oh, sorry, it's my phone going off, sorry about that. Effective next week, I'll also be playing another role at Red A. I'll be the Tourism Development Officer for the province with Red ATNL.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, thanks. So
That's
yeah,
exciting.
I'll be doing both roles for the rest of the year. So it's going to be busy, and eventually I'll be transitioning over fully into the tourism development officer role. Yeah, because in the economic development officer role, I was hired to replace somebody temporarily. So yeah, so a bit of shuffling around, but yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome.
So bonjour à tous, and yeah, thanks for having me.
I had the pleasure of meeting some of Andrew's colleagues recently, and his manager, Diego, who was hoping to join today, but it was nice to see them coming actually out onto the West Coast and connecting with people and so on. Roxanne, are you waving hello, or did you have a question?
Oh, just waving hello to
Okay,
Andrew,
perfect.
but my internet is really unstable here, so I might.
Yeah, that's okay. We got you. Jeff, do you want to jump in on this one? You're with Skills NL, so what are your thoughts? If you're there, Jeff. Perhaps not. Brent, anything new from the world of government that we should know? A new premier, you got a new cabinet.
Yeah, where do I start? Oh God.
Any new programs or anything out that?
No, nothing, not yet. Yeah,
Okay.
it's still early days of the new government, and yeah, I mean, COVID is obviously the major focus, and I guess we're all waiting for the grain report to see where we're going to be headed in the new in the near future.
Right.
One question I was going to ask, Carol, off the top, you mentioned that you'd work with the Nolita Group on developing a strategic plan. So I guess, is that still a work in process, or do you have your strategic plan done? And did we pay for it? And by we, I mean through our community capacity building program.
Community capacity building did provide some funding, and Lita was
some funding. Okay.
Yeah, and Lita was gracious enough to pay me a little bit more than the community capacity building program. Yes, we did go through that. That was how I was connected with them, was through Melissa.
Melissa Wheeler. Yeah.
Melissa Wheeler connected me with Rich. So Rich Lewis is a gentleman Richard is owner of Indigrow in Happy Valley Goose Bay.
Yeah.
And he's a consultant that's been doing extensive work with Lita as well. And so we connected, and then we came in together. So I'll just speak a little bit to it because I know Roxanne's internet is wonky here for her at the moment, but they had a draft of a plan. As she mentioned, they had some previous meetings and they had 9 pillars. And we spent a full day going through their board governance manual. And these folks were like, we fleshed it out, wordsmithed it, didn't we, Roxanne? Every single word was reviewed. So is it A, is it the, is it president, is it executive director? Is it, we went through it word by word. to get, and they've got a very, very comprehensive governance board manual talking about roles and responsibilities, how meetings are going to be held, on the whole gamut of it. And then we looked at, that was the first session we did, and then we did 2 half-day sessions on the strategic plan, and we reviewed each of the 9 pillars. I never thought they were going to get through them all. They're a fantastic group to work with because they actually got through them all. And we wordsmithed all of those, and we came up with objectives for 3 years. And we actually got down into, some key indicators and stuff for the first year. So, yeah, I would say
that all sounds really dry, but Carol did an amazing job in she's an excellent facilitator, so totally recommend her. She made something sound very what we were dreading to do, making it a lot of fun. So we got it done. But yeah, we turned it to be great. Yeah.
Strategic planning is awesome. I don't know why people think it's dry and boring. Governance is amazing. I love it.
It was, I have to say, it was a lot of fun, Roxanne, and it was great. But I truly was impressed. And the reason I was impressed is knowing as a non-Indigenous person that there are such unique differences with these communities, and that they were open enough to even talk about that was some of their challenges. And then, Roxanne, I think you've just given me even more of an appreciation because of each of you, you need to go back to your community, going back to your elder. So I can see how some of those dialogue and viewpoints would be very difficult and take a long time to get through. But the fact that you're coming together, you actually remind me of the craft brewery industry. The craft brewing industry come together. They don't see themselves as competitors. They see themselves as, a craft beer drinker drinks all craft beers, and so they're lifting, and that's what I see you folks doing as well. You're coming together to lift collectively versus our Indigenous community is different than your Indigenous community, and we need to be, completely unique. So I was impressed. So I'm very glad you're here with us today, Roxanne. I'm not sure if Mr. Young is still there. Jeffrey, are you still there with us?
Yes, I am.
So what are you thinking about all this training? When you want to jump in? Because that's kind of your new world now.
Yeah, no, it's very good. I was happy to be present at the AGM for Annalita as well. And so it's all great things happening. And with the virtual meetings and stuff, I'm getting pretty used to that with work. That's how we've been going into the schools now and putting off presentations as we can't do it in person. But it's great.
So Jeff, are there programs that perhaps Ashley and Christine and Shauna can connect with you on, or do you already connect on programs for youth? Because that's what you are, right? Is skills.
Yes, I connected with Ashley in the past. We did a presentation with, was it YMCA or CYN?
It was both.
Okay. Okay. So I did both. Yeah. And so we got tons of programming for you. Well, any post-secondary, pretty much any age group we got programming available. We also have, but we're doing a lot of programming. Right now we're doing our competitions on Saturday, which is getting a lot of students and post-secondary students into competitions and being able to win prizes and stuff towards their tuition. So that's what we're focused on, is getting the youth interested into trades and technology careers.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's any programming for any community organizations or if they want to do any workshops, we're literally open to any ideas or any suggestions you guys have.
So Christine, to your original question around, what are some of the barriers and what are people looking for, it might be a great loop as well, because if you're, through what Roxanne's identifying, what you find in your research, Jeff might be able to jump in and meet some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to meet with anyone.
That's great. It seems that we primarily are dealing with a client with multiple needs. And there seems to us through our experience over the years with the number of employment and education and programs that we're having, that more and more of the barriers that people are coming forward with are much more limiting. And it's created a need for us to be very creative in terms of our program delivery model, because we're finding nobody's coming to us with one issue. Mental health issues and mental health addictions play a huge role, but we're also dealing with people who have disengaged from the education system, dealing with very low levels of literacy and numeracy with a lot of clients, and trying to the biggest barrier with that quite often is the confidence of the person that comes across the door, and their ability to see themselves as having value and having the capacity to learn and capacity to contribute. So I find we're working very much at that level, and then trying to create that sense of hope and sense of optimism by showing them where opportunities lie, and that you don't have to fall into a traditional or boring job that you look at and say, I could never do. So it's been a really, the past few years I find, I've been around too long. I think I've been around a long time, but I find the challenges that our participants are coming forward with are quite daunting. And we are developing some new tools in the toolbox. The IM&M program, for example, is amazing because it's meeting people where they are and helping them move forward from that point. But in terms of, filling the gaps that we know are going to exist in the future in terms of the workforce, I think the biggest challenge we have is empowering and enabling and giving people the skills to have and the confidence to move forward and see something as possible and an opportunity and be willing to go for it. And I think it's gotten more and more important for us to be a very, very strong backup for these people, because these are the people that are going to be, filling, addressing the labor market shortages and filling some of these more unique positions. It's anybody anywhere who has anything to offer that can help us work with those individuals. We're all over whatever opportunities can come our way.
That's excellent. Yeah, and it is. I think the world has become so much more complex. And as you alluded to, all of your research is in a normal time. And then you throw a pandemic in there, and as Jeff's just indicating, we're in a different world. We can't go to the same places that we used to be. Brent's in the back cave. You're not allowed to get out and actually connect with people, and so it's very difficult. One of the things that, as you were speaking, Christine, that jumped at me, I did a workshop earlier this week on respect in the workplace, and I have a video that I show, and it talks about unconscious bias. But there's a section of the video, and there's a gentleman. It's all filmed at Google, and it's talking about different people working at Google, and he said, I'm an autistic engineer. And so, as a gentleman with autism, he said, in my very first performance review, I was asked, what are your strengths? He said, I was never asked that before. He said, I was always told what I couldn't do, because he had autism. And so he said, such a shift, to be actually asked, what are your strengths? And obviously as an engineer, I mean, he's always got strengths somewhere. He's working at Google and being able to, do those types of things. And it cut right through my heart, right? It was just that, as a parent and as a person who's in training and all of that thing was just like, how enlightening was that? This gentleman, and he was probably I'm thinking he was probably in his early 20s, the first time he was asked, what are your strengths? And I often talk about everyone, things that we all have talent. Brent and I both serve in our church, and I would say our church gets my talent because I don't mind standing up doing a reading. So I stand in front of people for a living, right? So my mother would be terrified. She said, I don't know how you do it. And I said, well, we've all got talent somewhere, and you just you get an opportunity to use those talents. So for him to be asked what were his strengths, he said it was just so empowering. Ashley.
So Christine mentioned IM&M, which is In Motion and Momentum Plus. We partnered with the Canadian Career Development Foundation last year to be involved in their last kind of 2 rounds of their pilot project for the Emotion and Momentum program. And it's a strengths-based program. It's values-based. It's you can do this and you can learn your values and your interests and remember your strengths. And the whole 13-week program is very much about building the participant up so that they believe in themselves. So we're using that. We're you know, we've had some bumps in our first cohort of delivery just by nature of this year. So we're about to start our second module. And so far the course material is fabulous. It's one of those programs that gives you all the, you know, good feel type of, you know, perspectives, because you're seeing your clients and your participants remember that they are worthy of all of the good things. There's no work experience attached to the program, but more often than not, once the 13 weeks and all 3 modules are finished, you do find a higher percentage of participants move on to find a meaningful employment. So after the pilot rounds are over, we have one round that we're in the middle of now, and then another cohort in September. Then the pilot project will be finished, and we can then incorporate Emotion and Momentum Plus into all of our pre-employment programs as a precursor. Right? The course material really takes the, you know, the strengths-based and the values-based and a client-centered approach and just turns it into something that's beautiful to watch and facilitate and be involved in.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
It
I know
is,
there was a program a course they used to run in government when I worked there for the administrative professionals. And it was just administrative professional day yesterday, but they often feel, you know, we're the lowest paid, we're the lowest value, you know, all of those types of things. And I often used to always jokingly say I sucked up to my clerk before I ever sucked up to my director, because my director could go on vacation, I couldn't work, my clerk was gone, I'm done, right? Like, I mean, they were, to me, were the most valuable people. And I did this program on project management and the skills that they bring. So they're not the quarterback of the team, but they're that special needs team, right? They're the people that you need on the field at a certain time, and they're the ones that really support. And it was amazing, Ashley, as you're talking about that program, I'm remembering that time where all of a sudden they'd sit taller in their chair by the end of the day, because they realized that, you know, I couldn't run my project as a project manager without that team, you know, without those special people. They all have skills. And that's just so empowering. I just think that's so wonderful to hear that that's a program out there. That's great. I was just about to give Shauna a chance to say hello, but she had to jump off. So I know Shauna's with Ashley and Christine. Anything else anyone would like to add? What's happening? What's going on? All right. Our next community connection is July 15th. So save the date. So this one I do quarterly. So we'll be, you're going to get an email tomorrow, a follow-up email from today's session. We'll have the registration link in it. Same time, it'll be in July, and then the following one after that will be October. If there's any topics or any speakers you'd like to have, please let me know. As I say, the session's recorded. It'll be posted up on my YouTube channel and posted out through my media. For anyone that wasn't able to join us today, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you coming on and making the connection. This is all due to you, Christine. This is I think I'm in, as I say, I think it's probably our 8th or 9th session, because I only do them quarterly, but we've been doing them for 2 or 3 years, and it's based on a conversation you and I had back when we did your strategic plan.
It's great that we could have planted the seed, but somebody had to nourish it and water it and make it happen, Carol. So, that was you.
Thank
That's
you.
fantastic that you guys do this. It's awesome. And thank you for the opportunity today. And if you're ever interested in doing more with us, with Nelita, we'll certainly be just plug in and we'll let you know what we're doing as well along the way. I don't know about you, Carol, but Jill and Tara's gonna, they owe me big time. I'll be cashing in.
They definitely owe you big time. You're not even the chair. You're just a board member. Not just a board member, because that sounds little, but you did a fantastic job, Roxanne, jumping in on a blind presentation. So thank you so much for doing that. You did just a great job, as Tara would have done. So I know that. So thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, Andrew and Jeff, for joining us today. Brent, as always, you're one of my biggest supporters. I appreciate you being here with us. Again, coming up next month, we do monthly, the entrepreneur one. So if I know Roxanne's been on as from Nunacor, joining us, and Brent as well. So for entrepreneurs, we meet monthly. And so we're looking actually, I think our topic we're bantering around right now for the next one is succession planning for businesses. So might be of interest to you, Christine, for your work, and Roxanne, as you mentioned, the aging, aging operators or business owners. And so right now we're kind of exploring who we're going to get in to come in and talk about that. And Andrew, for some of your folks that may be of interest to your entrepreneurs as well. So that'll be our next one coming up. And then there's always different things on the go. So stay, as Roxanne said, stay connected, stay plugged in. And we'll get you there. So thank you so much for joining me today, and wish you all well. Have a great day.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye now.